Hi, we are here to present our group presentation of business and corporation law subject, and we are 4 members in our team, and here we would like to discuss about our case studies, which is regarding the Australian Securities and Investment Commission versus Soust, Dr. Soust 2010 FCA 68. And firstly, here are the table of contents that we will discuss all together. And first of all, I will like to discuss about the facts of the case, and then issue, and then duties of the directors under the act, then declaration by the court, defense taken by the defendants, then allegations of Australian Securities Investment Commission versus Soust, and then analysis of judgment, then implication of the judgment, then finally conclusion and the references where what we use to make this group presentation. And firstly, here are the facts of the case. Suit was brought by Australian Security Investment Commission against the Dr. Soust. So Dr. Soust purchased the shares on his mother's name in the company in which he was a director. So the section 1041A, which is of the Corporation Act, states for not to engage in any artificial transaction which may have the impact of artificial price of for trading in the financial market. And the second section 1041B, which states that a person will not engage in any kind of activity which may have the impact of false and misleading appearance, was breached by him as per personal interest. And finally, Dr. Soust used his position to gain the undue advantage to fulfill his personal interest. And these were the facts of the case. Further, we would like to discuss about the issue raised before the court. Firstly, whether Dr. Soust made the violation of his duties as provided under the Act by the undue advantage of his position, and secondly, whether the act of the director was detrimental to the interest of the Corporation Act or not. Finally, whether the purchase of shares of the company created the artificial price or not in the financial market of the company. And here were the duties of the directors under the Act. Fourthly, Section 1041B, no false or misleading transaction. Then Section 1041A, again, duty not to engage in the artificial transaction. And Section S206C1, penalty for breach of duty. And the Section 1821, duty of good faith. Here were the duties of the directors under the Act. Further, we would like to discuss about the declaration by the court regarding this case is the defendant made contravention of Section 1041A by active participation in activities which had the effect of artificial creation. Furthermore, the defendant also made the violation of Section 1041B, which I will discuss before, 1B, by giving false and misleading effect in relation to the market and the price for trading in shares in Select Vaccines Limited. Finally, there was a breach of Section 1811, that is duty of good faith, act of the director. There was huge loss which was suffered by Select Vaccines Limited. And here were the defense which was taken by the defendants is that the defendant contended that at the time of the purchase of the shares, he was not acting as a director of a company, but was acting in his private and individual capacity. This was a defense which was taken by the defendants. And further, there was the allegations of Australian Security Investment Commission. Firstly, direct involvement of the defendant in transaction as he advised Bell Potter and on the basis of the transaction happened. Secondly, it was alleged that Jones versus Duncan in 1959 case, it was held the defense can be pledged by the defendant that on whose behalf the trade was carried out. In the present case, though the transaction was carried out on the behalf of defendant's mother, but there is no evidence which could show that the instruction given by the defendant were also on the behalf of his mother. So evidences were also presented before the court regarding the involvement of defendant. So there was an analysis of judgment regarding this case is that the court's judgment is rightly founded as in the evidence it was proved that the acts of the defendant was false and misleading, and the judgment of the court re-established the legality and the enforceability of the provisions of the act, and the judgment pronounced by the court fits within the duties of the director under given sections, that is duty of good faith, not to indulge on the activities which has the effect of artificial price creation, etc. So the basic legal rules must be followed in regular practice in the working of the business organization. And here were the implication of the judgment. The fourthly, similar instances will allow the court to impose heavy penalty. It was the first implication of the judgment. And then more focus on the statutory compliance by the companies in their regular course of dealings. And the finally, transaction with due care and caution and in good faith by the directors of the company. So finally, there was a conclusion regarding this case studies that the adherence to the laws will help the company as well as the person working on its behalf to avoid various kinds of liabilities, and the directors in the above case is rightly removed from his position for the violation of the provisions of the Act, and the removal will act as a guideline for the future conduct of the other directors of the companies governed by the Corporation Act 2001. And that was our case studies regarding our Australian Security Investment Commission vs. Soust case. So here are the references which we were used to create our group presentation. Thank you.